guys, so I am painting a bluefin tuna today just because they're nice and big and fat and colourful and I felt like it, and I wanted to talk about the inner critic. I think we all have an inner critic somewhere in there. I think it's just part of that voice that we all have going on in the background of everything we do, that like constant commentary of thoughts and opinions and conversations that we've had in the past and what we're going to have for lunch today. That constant train of thought that we have going on, I think the inner critic fits in with all of that. And the inner critic part of that, I think, comes into I call it the just my opinion commenter that you sometimes see on YouTube. The one that's just being brutally honest and just saying what it sees and what it's noticed, and somehow always seems to be kind of mean about it, but it's just being honest, right? It is the voice that sees a mistake and turns it into failure. But as I said, it's just being honest, it's just noticing things, it's just commenting on what it's observing. It thinks that it means well. But the problem is that when you come to do something, anything, again, whether it's drawing or putting yourself out there in any way, you always remember that one thing that your inner critic said. And it just makes things every time a little bit harder to motivate yourself to do. So my inner critic says things like, "You've been doing this for so long and you're not getting any better. Why are you still trying?" And with that, it's just, playing devil's advocate. It's just kind of prodding me and taunting me for a response, which it always gets. I will always argue with it and kind of chase it down this rabbit hole of trying to battle my insecurities. But ultimately a path that just leads me away from whatever I was doing. Sometimes it says, "Look at that person, look how well they're doing, why aren't you doing that well?" And always boiling down to why try? So in terms of how I've been dealing with my inner critic, it's become a lot easier now that I can see her for who she truly is, because now that I know her, my inner critic, it's hard to treat her with anything but understanding and kindness and gentleness. She is just simple and instinctual. She acts on instinct, just primal and raw. She's just my brain's natural response to fear. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that I am wasting my time with art because I'll never be as good as I want to be, or that I will be discovered as a fraud, which is a whole other conversation, but it just ties into the whole imposter syndrome thing. But yeah, she's afraid. She sees that I've made a mistake and she spirals into retreat mode, fleeing. She is just reactive, the reaction center in my brain. She is my autopilot that just pops up when I'm not present in my own thoughts, in my own actions. I'm letting my brain do its own thing without really being aware of it. It's like the same part of your brain that would make you jump into a freezing river to save a dog without even thinking, or for me, more commonly, I decided one day I wasn't going to drink coffee because caffeine messes me up, but by the time I got downstairs, the first thing I did was turn the kettle on, because that's what I always do when I get downstairs to make a coffee. It's that part of your brain where you're not really there, so it just does what it's used to doing. Autopilot. So when you are doing something creative, drawing, painting, writing, and you let your mind drift, or you make a mistake and present aware you isn't there to make sense of it and rationalize it, your autopilot is always there to react unchecked. And autopilot you sees struggle or like fear from making a mistake, struggle from not knowing what you're doing, just recognizing these really natural feelings that we have that we can't control. That part of your brain reacts the only way it knows how to. It says, whoa, I don't like this is difficult or uncomfortable, so I'm out. Let's do something else. Let's do something safe. We don't need to be doing this. You don't like doing this. You're not good at doing this. Let's just back away. Let's go back to bed. It's that spiral of thoughts that just happens by itself on instinct, really strengthened by a kind of routine of it happening. Mistake equals failure equals stop, cut your losses, you're not good enough, let's just quit. So how do you deal with that when it's so natural? And the easy way to control that isn't to try to control how you feel, it's just to notice it. Notice that voice and hear it before it turns that feeling into the truth, into reality. So you're just noticing it and stepping in before autopilot takes over. And you don't argue with it, because that's just adding fuel to the fire. You just hear it and be patient with it, and know that when that voice in your head says you're not good enough, it's just fear, it's just instincts, it's just a reaction, and all you can do is hear it and carry on. Acknowledge it gently, and even though you can't control your feelings, you can control your actions. You can control the fact that you're just gonna keep going. For me, if I have a thought that's mean, I kind of just think, and then get on with what I'm doing. And over time, I've gotten more used to recognizing that voice when it comes up and not letting it spiral off into the abyss of catastrophizing and making everything so much worse than it is. That voice now just says, oh, we've made a mistake. And I go, yeah, we have. I'm going to carry on. Rather than it saying, I've made a mistake. I'm always making mistakes. I'm going to keep making mistakes. Why do I bother? And that's not to say that you shouldn't be listening to the critical voice. If we go back to the YouTube commenter analogy, there is a difference between the just my opinion critic and the constructive critic. The difference is, sometimes it's just in the delivery, but the main difference is that when you are creating with awareness, when you are doing something and you're fully there, you are present and you're focused and intentional, when that voice comes, you can notice the thought before it turns to judgment, because the first instinct of the brain is to see, and the next thing is to analyze. If you can step in before the analysis takes over, there's no need to judge. It's like, oh, this fish I've just drawn is completely out of proportion, and that is something that you've noticed and something you can take on board. The difference is that normally if you just let that carry on without noticing it, that fish is out of proportion. This is the third mistake you've made so far today. You're not improving. You're never going to be as good as you want to be, and so on and so on. So, go easy on yourself, get to know yourself, get to know that voice in your head as more than just a bitter part of you that wants to always criticize you. Be nice to yourself, be kind, listen and be understanding, and do your best to remain in the present, stay focused, and when your mind wanders, hear it and then come back to what you're doing and move on.